would you please introduce yourself and let us know where you're from, what type of work you do, and was there something particular that you were looking for when you were looking at the submission projects this year?
I'm Damaris Hollingsworth, founder and architect for Design by Mello. I am in Twin Cities. I don't know if I missed anything in the list of requests, but Twin Cities, Minnesota. I was looking at the project, really, I was very looking forward to really see the variety of how design excellence can be manifested. And it was definitely a journey through that. So I am grateful.
Thank you. Our next juror is Z. Smith. So I'll repeat again. Would you tell us where you're from, what type of work you do, and was there anything that surprised you overall about the submittals that you saw?
So Z. Smith, I'm with SQ Dumas Ripple based in New Orleans. We and Houston seem to trade weather systems back and forth. You just sent us yours this time. I think that I was looking forward. I had the opportunity to serve on the AIA Committee on the Environment back around 5 years ago when we updated the COTE Top 10 framework that then the AIA membership turned into adopted about 2 years ago by an overwhelming vote as the basis of all design awards and renamed it the Framework for Design Excellence. And so on the jury, we had a great conversation about the progress that's been made in that way and the huge distance we still have to go for integrating good design, climate responsive design, and design that is really centered around community and addressing the needs, especially of the most vulnerable and those who've been left behind. And we were interested to see as jurors projects that I think in all of this, we agreed that the things that needed awarding wasn't just good work or pretty work, but work that really took an assignment and said, how much more can we do with this, whether the budget is high or low, to make things better.
Thank you, Z. And our third juror is Kim Yao. Would you please let us know where you're from, what type of work that you do, and is there anything about the 106 projects that you guys reviewed that changed your perception of Houston?
That's a good question. So thanks for the introduction. I'm Kim Yao, and I'm a principal at Architecture Research Office. We're based in New York City, downtown, and we do work around the country, including a little bit of work in Houston, which has been great to have the experience to visit your city. I'm also the immediate past president of AIA New York. So I'm so excited that you're all gathered together for this celebration tonight. I'm sure it's the first one like this for a lot of you in a little while. So I'm really jealous that we're not there with you in person and celebrating right alongside with you for the great design award winners tonight. So your question, like, what did this, I think what did this tell me about Houston? Well, it reinforced some things that I think I know about Houston, which is that, zoning is a concept that doesn't exactly exist. And so we saw some really cool, projects where we talked about context and scale and integration with neighborhood and what that means in a context like a city like Houston, in a context like Houston, where there's extreme diversity sometimes within areas. So that was pretty interesting to talk about. And then I think, design awards programs are super competitive, and you've got a community of members, I think, that are creating excellent work that is represented well. The submissions were put forth in a way that really clearly described the projects. And so it's hard to do what we're doing. And I think what we were looking for were the projects that really rose above, because there was great work this year. So what really rose above and set the bar, like Z and Damaris were saying, like set the bar higher and kind of exemplified the best of design excellence, not just as its own independent concept, but as an ideal that integrates sustainability and resiliency, that integrates thinking about communities, that takes many different shapes and sizes. And so I was just really impressed by the diversity of work and the caliber of the work, and learning a little bit more about Houston in the process.
Thank you, Kim. And I guess now we are gonna move on with the awards. So woohoo. Our first award for architecture less than 50,000 square feet goes to Lyric Center Garage, Munoz Albin Architecture and Planning, Inc. And the associate architecture firm is Kirksey. So congratulations.
Okay, I think I volunteered to speak for this one. So I'm a sustainability director. And so the idea that I would wholeheartedly support a parking garage is a little bit of fun of playing against type. I think we all know that parking is the ultimate challenge for cities. We know that the dependence on automobiles is what's sort of choking us. All that said, parking is a reality today and will be for some time to come. And it's so refreshing when we see a project like this that has taken the kind of what could be a completely pedestrian assignment of make a parking garage and tried to make something that would be a real positive to the city, both spatially for those of us who might not be in a car at all, just to enjoy this building at this scale. And also to fight for making that ground floor something that contributes to the pedestrian realm, as it's been designed to be to receive a future food hall project. And so we just enjoyed the sculptural quality of the project, the fact that it is fun to look at day and night. Some of us are only look better when the lighting is very low, myself included. But it's really fun to see a project that does so much with light and form and volume, and makes, even given the assignment of make a place for cars, to start to make it a place for people in the city.
For our next award, architecture greater than 50,000 square feet, the Houston Farmers Market by Studio Red Architects.
And yay! I also have this one on my list. I think we've divided these more or less equally. The Houston Farmers Market, what impressed us about this submission was that it told a great story. It told a story of a place that's really of value to all kinds of people from all different ethnicities and income levels, that nevertheless today is a bit, or when the assignment began, was a bit grim. I mean, the nicest thing about that photograph you see in front of us are those oranges. They look pretty great, but the space itself, not so much. And so this intervention managed to make a place that would be incredibly inviting for people, and it stayed inviting for people of all classes, of all ethnicities, of all parts of the city to come, to bring their family and so on, to play, to have events that work in the daytime and the night that improve the environmental performance and so on of the site. So again, a really nice intervention, a very simple form, beautifully executed.
Our next award is for architecture greater than 50,000 square feet, and it is Springdale General by Michael Shu, Office of Architecture.
Hi, so I am speaking on this one. One thing that really, even before I read the summary of this project, was really the simplicity of the compositions. And not only simplicity, but the simplicity of the composition, but also the materials. And yet it's such a beautiful and nicely done composition of those. If you look at the wood and the metal, very basic earthy materials that makes it, though very big, a big project, big spans and big ceiling, tile ceiling is very human scale and very comfortable. But what really struck me, I think one thing that I didn't mention in the beginning that I was really longing for was the most socioeconomic implications of projects. And this one definitely does that. When we make spaces feasible for small businesses and for businesses that have been otherwise pushed out of the economy, that is definitely does the job of what I believe to be an inclusive and of this day, really relevant architecture, and the design is excellent, and I really appreciate this design for all those reasons.
The next design award is for Conceptual. It's for, the project is Strange Fruit, Peace and Justice Center for Dialogue, by the firm Rebecca Morales.
So I'll speak to this one. This proposal, the conceptual category is an opportunity to explore an idea and make perhaps a provocative proposal. In this context, this design took, for those of you who've had the opportunity to visit the National Center for Peace and Justice Memorial, what some described as the Lynching Museum in Montgomery, Alabama. It's astonishingly moving and grips you in a way that it's hard to describe, and making something that could be, for some of us who've grown up in isolation and privilege, an incredibly visceral and moving experience. This proposal looked at, and it's sort of a courtyard design, or a ramp, a spiraling ramp approach, where these kind of virtual sarcophagi memorializing the thousands of people who have been lynched in the United States, the kind of racial terror that has enforced over the century, and link that to our kind of incarceration society that we still have today, that Equal Justice Initiative is all built about making that connection. This proposal was to take what's in the center of that and create a place for exhibition, continuing that pattern of how you move through the site, and create a place for dialogue that they put underneath the courtyard that this whole existing facility wraps around. And they sort of took the cues from the beautiful design that's already been there, but pushed it a lot further. They pushed it further environmentally in terms of energy and water and so on, but they kept the focus on what is it that the events of the last year and a half in this country have told us, which is that we have been, there's a tremendous underlying violence in a lot of our relations. And the first and hardest thing to do is to start talking with each other, and to realize what's happened, and to talk about what's still happening, and have hard conversations. And this design is all about how an architectural intervention can provide a place for conversations like that. So we were really moved by this.
The next design award is for Divine Detail, and it is for Congregation Beth Israel by Kirksey.
So I have a disproportionate number of the ones at the beginning of this series. So this project, again, a very simple assignment, which is we have a porte cochere. It's too small. If a bus comes, it's not big enough, and so on. And there are other challenges associated with it. It's just not gracious or generous enough. And yet we have this very strong architectural language of the existing building. And what the team behind this intervention did was they said, that's showing what you can do with the plastic quality of concrete. Let's move into a whole different medium and say, what would be the response in a different material, exploiting the inherent qualities of that other material. And so they're working with that same kind of a flaring form, but then doing things that you really are rather hard to do in concrete, executing them in steel, this kind of gossamer quality that gives the dappled light, kind of reminiscent of the live oak trees in the surrounding neighborhoods and so on. And singularly among many of the submissions in this category of the Divine Detail, they actually gave us the detail, which was nice. And made it very clear for how it came together. So just a very simple intervention that does its work, does it really beautifully, and combines beauty and function in a really nice way.
The next award is for Interior Architecture. The project is Greater Houston Pediatric Dentistry in Conroe, and it's MC Squared Architects.
Congratulations. We love this project. You're going to see why if you don't know it. it's really exemplifies intelligent planning, taking advantage of a very typical retail street level storefront, essentially in like a strip mall, to use that phrase. And what really struck us is that this makes the children and the patients feel very comfortable and at home. It's welcoming, it's open. A ton of daylight comes in because of the storefront, because of the orientation of the space. And it has an open plan. So it has this amazing layout where the pediatric dentistry and the orthodontia zones are on the glass facing side. You can see that here, and in a kind of communal setting. And so it's very open, everything feels accessible, and I think it welcomes patients in as a result of that openness. It also uses a palette with the glass, which you can see here in the color, that is playful without being patronizing. It feels like welcoming to children and teenagers and adults simultaneously, which is really impressive. And, you know, there's this most important image perhaps is this idea that the building or the interior transforms the facade. And so it really becomes the brand of the space and welcomes its patients in.
Next award is also an Interior Architecture Award, and the project is Waste Management Headquarters by the firm Perkins and Will.
Congratulations to the designers of this project. What impressed us about, no, it's not the divine detail, it's the whole interior set. I think this is the wrong PDF. Well, we'll let this go through. So imagine, you know, it's like you're in that multiplex and you've stepped into the wrong movie theater. What the designers have done here is address, you know, the single focus. When we talk about sustainability, it's not just about low flow fixtures or energy use intensities. It's about making places for people that reinforce and support health, that support beauty, that support activity. And what we found consistently throughout this entire project, not just with this attractive stair, was an attention to that. It also had a very strong notion of how to reinforce taking the brand identity, something as simple as the logo of Waste Management, and turning that into a kind of clue for what to do visually in a way that tied the space together in a really positive way, achieving LEED Platinum status, of course, 100% of its power through offsite renewable power and so on. But I think that the real thing to keep in mind on this project and what impressed the jury was architecture is about people, and it's about reinforcing, making people's lives better rather than grimmer, and not just trying to impress other architects. And we really loved that this whole initiative put people at the center of the design.
The next category is on the boards, and the project is Arthur A. Richards Pre-K through 8th grade school, and the firm is DLR Group.
Congratulations to the DLR team. I really love this project, and we all loved it, but I have this thing about space in between, starting in my back years in college, and I thought this project did that very beautifully. In school, I always have seen school projects, especially if you go all the way from grade through 12. This need for separation, but at the same time, the longing for a community, and separating the buildings into blocks, but then bringing them together by the ways of this interstitial space and the way it flows and the way even consideration of the wind and the shadows and all of that composition. And overall it's almost, when you look from this image, for instance, is that it's one thing, right? It's one building, one big element that happens to have open spaces in between. So I think the composition was beautiful. And the ability to actually bring people together from different grades and from different experiences, because we are not in this long line of buildings that we could meet, but we likely would never, really does it very well. It creates the sense of community, this node, this really the heart of a campus, just with this beautiful composition of the space in between. So congratulations.
The next category is renovation and restoration. And the project winner is MKT with Michael Shu, Office of Architecture.
And that's me again. So it's my turn now to monopolize this project. I mean, the before and after photo just speaks volumes, right? We all have seen those buildings that are just there, that everybody that look at it, the first thought is demolish and do something else. And the detail of that breezeway and the way it brought it really made it so oriented the project, but also gave it some strong identity. And the wrapping of it is a different building, right? It's a completely different space. So the renovation literally renovated the whole environment around it and created this interaction between outside and inside, and the materials, the colors. I think again it comes back to me the human senses. It's grand, yet it's so simple and comfortable and really grounds you. So congratulations. This composition is pretty I find extraordinary.
Okay, also in the category of renovation and restoration, the project is Agape Development Community Center by the firm Transcend Architecture, which is a nonprofit arm of Jackson Ryan Architects.
Congratulations to the team. This renovation restoration category was really rich for us, I think, as a jury this year. You can see that in those first couple of slides, like this slide, where you understand like the type of building and structure that this team was and this client was engaging, not just from a sustainability lens of talking about reuse, which is of course important, but really from the standpoint of absolutely transforming this community and this neighborhood by taking advantage of this existing site and creating something completely different. And so we were really struck by the strategic use of the material palette in this project that impacted the exterior and the interior, the creation of exterior spaces like this one under the canopy so the community can really gather, and also the kind of indoor-outdoor relationship, like that canopy. There's simple moves, a garage door, it opens up into the children's area. So there's a lot of flexibility in a space like this because the building has to do like 100 different things for the really diverse population that it's serving. So it was just smart, like celebratory, like this great picture, and engaging as a project. And we were really excited about that.
Another project in the category of renovation and restoration. The project is Robinson West Chase Neighborhood Library by Page.
Congratulations. Again, different era, different type of building, but here you're seeing like an existing library building, almost basically 30 years old. There's that before picture that absolutely needed a major transformation. And I think what really struck us about this project is that they used the glass, this L, to kind of break open the building. So a building like a library shouldn't be insular. Yes, it has a lot of books and needs a lot of storage and everything, but it should be bright and open and airy. And this singular move, and of course, all the other kind of infrastructural and systems related things they did, improving the energy performance of the building, bringing in all of that daylight, reducing like lighting loads, it just allows the library to connect to its community and serve the community more. And it brings those students and people in to really engage the collection. Color is used effectively. The glazing has an exterior frit for both kind of continuity of the glass and for daylight. It opens up onto a nearby park. It's very compositional, which you can see in this simple elevation here, where you have the metal, which is dealing with deteriorated brick, and then the existing kind of striped brick. We were just really struck by the intelligence and thoughtfulness of the design.
Also in the category of renovation and restoration, the project is Soccer Shots by the firm Harry Gendel Architects.
Congratulations, team. This renovation and restoration was to me, there's a thing, I'm Brazilian, so soccer, right? So you say soccer, I just want to know about it. But then even because of that, understanding the value of that, what the role that soccer really plays in communities, especially immigrant communities. As we were reviewing, we asked about the demographics of the area. So that is a very important role, that community creation, the sense of belonging to one commonality, especially when we have so many different communities in one place. But then architecturally speaking, what a transformation, right? The simplicity, again, simple elements, but composing with the given massing and volume, but then adding and creating a palette that is still belongs, right? But it's beautiful and it's refreshed and it's really renewed. So congratulations on these compositions. And I really appreciate what a space like this, especially after transformed and beautified, it sends a lot of messages, more messages than just a new beautiful building. It's really a message of, we see you, we're included in the let's create community. So congratulations.
Our next category is residential architecture. The project is Alston House, and the firm is Content Architecture.
Congratulations. So reviewing the houses, of course, there was amazing homes, amazingly designed and compositions. What got me to this one, it's as we were talking about the spatial composition, the colors, the use of colors, the use of voids and massing. But I really had this thought of looking at this. There are some niches, some details into this project that makes it very unique, yet not so customized that it can only belongs to this one group. But to me, it makes it this specific family's project. So when we think about a beautiful, especially nicely composed, especially home, can be anybody's home, but this home feels to me like it's this specifically family home. So to me, it's very unique and special, yet very versatile. It's not to say that, oh wow, it's going to be only this group can use it, but it's the way it was composed. The choosing of the details and the colors made it very personal to this family. I don't know the family, but I feel like it's their project, it's their home. It really brought it home. Congratulations.
Also in the residential architecture category, I was also supposed to say the Alston House is on the AIA home tour, which is October 23rd and 24th. So we've got an award-winning project on the home tour. So the next residential architecture award goes to Hammer Residence by M+A Architecture Studio.
I love what Damaris said about this house feels like the house for these residents, because I think the same applies to this project, and maybe that's what we were looking for and we didn't know it, right? As we were talking on the jury, really playful home. The massing is pretty unusual, and I think one of the things it does with this like lifting up of that volume we just saw is it allows the house to engage a really busy street even though it has a fenced boundary and it's protecting kind of its front yard and providing privacy. So there's a playfulness and a kind of intelligence in the massing of the building that is both urban in its kind of orientation, even though the house is separated off from that street for obvious reasons. It also brings in daylight. So it kind of breaks open the house and creates these distinct volumes and zones that, that the family and the residents can occupy, which really impressed us. Obviously, simple palette, using metal cladding, having the wood run inside to outside, all that warmth of materiality. But even in these photographs, you see how successful these kind of compositions are with the use of those materials and then the kind of execution of the detailing. And that's something that, across the range of projects we saw, you're looking for different things, I think, in different typologies and different types of projects. In house projects, the bar is set really high, I think, where you want to, because as Doris also said, there's so many great houses. I'm always like, I want to live in this house, but you want to see, clarity of thought, kind of design rigor, design excellence, obviously, and you want to see that kind of resolution of detail and execution so that it really feels like it's going to last, and it's going to be beautiful, and it's going to be meaningful for the occupants. This house does it really well.
Okay, also in the residential architecture category, the project is Tiny Victories, Michael Shu, Office of Architecture.
And there's a sweep going on tonight. There you go. This project was submitted as in interior architecture, or maybe it was even the detail. The jury had a lot of fun deciding if we could actually put this in every single category, because it was housing, it was amazing detailing, it was part of a much larger vision of a societal need, which is to develop transitional housing for people who are emerging from homelessness into who are currently unhoused, who want a place that is theirs, and how important that can be in basically stabilizing people who have been unhoused. This one worked with all of the traditional vernacular forms of, a screened porch and so on. We saw submissions that were beautifully detailed for penthouses at 5,500 square feet and beautiful homes at 6,000 square feet. This home gets so much mileage out of 225 square feet, and it does it at what looks like an impossibly high budget, but in fact, they provided their material budget of, it was around 25,000, and then they estimated around 25,000 in donated labor to construct this prototype. Now, our challenge to the design team is one of these is nice, but 50 of these is a lot nicer. And so we challenge you to find a way to crank these out and work with the folks that are developing these, because this is a place that just has such a beauty and a dignity to it. And when we think about the problems we're facing, that's got to be at the core of what we're doing as architects, and providing something really elegant for everyone. And I think that this has shown a project that on a relatively modest budget with incredible care and design can deliver that.
In the urban design category, the project is Transit Environment Programming Catalog, and the firm is Associates Ultra Barrio LLC.
Congratulations. I have a dual degree in architecture and urban design. So this has special, speaks to me in a special way, as very nicely done booklet, really guideline, but it's so comprehensive and touches on so many layers of the issues that to be addressed in a urban planning and urban design perspective. And the way it does, besides of course, the graphic designer in me and the creative in me, the way it's done is playfully, but I also but the message is so serious and so important and relevant. The way it shows the really the slices, right, of a urban setting and the realities of our lifestyle, especially in not so urban cities. That still use a lot of cars and the multimodal, the levels of interaction between the models of transportation and mobility. So it's it's a very comprehensive way of looking at this, the urban design and the complexity of urban design, but it does in a way that can be, in my perception, applied to cities that have different settings. Just by maybe one or two portions of this is not as relevant, but still is done in a way that can be really a nice base of structure for evaluation. So congratulations, nicely done.
And our last award of the evening, also in the urban design category, project is Lynn Wyatt Square for Performing Arts, and the firm is Rios. And the associate architect is Harrison Kornberg.
Congratulations. It's great actually to end the evening, talking about urban design and coming back to this conversation about Houston. We were really excited by this project, taking like a very hardscape plaza and essentially transforming it through greenscape and resilient planning and intelligent ideas about programming, to tie together this nexus of cultural buildings in the area, and but simultaneously actually really speak to other types of occupants and inhabitants. So commuters and office workers and residents. This is really about creating park space that's versatile, and that serves multiple constituents across like a day and across the entirety of the year. And one of the things that's also great, and you're seeing this as we go through the slides with this presentation, and it's very well done. Like the diagrams, the way they explain occupation of the spaces was very effective. So it was easy for us to understand, even though there's a lot of content here. So, how do you open up this space, make it accessible and inclusive? They've made, I think there were the ideas, there's these existing concrete walls, and those will go away. So there'll be more visibility into the space, which means more accessibility into that space. And you can see the planning draws people in. It talks a lot. They talk a lot about flows and kind of pulling the flows of the city into this new into the new park or plaza as a really important fundamental part of the concept. So we were really struck by the park. Obviously we have, building components that help serve the park and integrate with the design, and help address some of the infrastructural aspects of the design. But imagining this space that's more resilient, that deals with the floodplain, that deals with urban heat island effect, and also offers exterior stage and venue spaces for the cultural programming, that surrounds it in the city. They talk about, density, and I thought it was really interesting that they're taking in a way, a void. I mean, it granted an existing plaza, but it sounds like one that's not well utilized. Taking in that void and by activating it, really promoting density in downtown Houston, which seemed like a great idea to us. Congratulations.
I want to thank the jurors for their time tonight and their thoughtful comments on the kind of the new way that we're seeing the design awards going forward into the future. And thank everybody for coming tonight. And Judy, do you want to say anything else? Or?
No, I think I want to.
Are you on?
I want to echo everything that Elise has said tonight. I want to thank the jurors for their time again, for participating, taking time out of their busy schedule to help out. I want to thank the committee that spent multiple days during the year to kind of get this thing to work out, and being able to select a great jury to kind of review these projects for 2021. So thank you all, and I appreciate you guys for coming for tonight too.
And thanks to all the firms that submitted awards, because it takes time, energy, and effort to do that and to share your the work that you're doing. So we appreciate that.
All right, thank you.